Right now, I want to welcome to the program from Concho, Arizona, the 2015 recipient of the Marion P. Hammer Woman of Distinction Award. Linda Gilbertson is with us. Linda, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you very much, Cam. I'm excited about being with you today.
Well, it's a real pleasure talking to you. And first of all, congratulations on the receiving the award.
Thank you. I was awestruck. I mean, it came as a complete surprise, but I'm very, very, very pleased.
Well, you know, I have had the pleasure and privilege of speaking with Marion P. Hammer on many occasions here on NRA News Cam and Company, and you know, the first female president of the National Rifle Association, a woman who is still active and involved in supporting our Second Amendment freedoms today. I mean, she is an example for gun owners, I think, all around the country. You know, let's talk about your work and your activism for a second, Linda, because to get this award, you know, you can't be sitting on the couch, right? I mean, Marion is the example of this activist who is so passionate in the cause. What makes you passionate about defending the Second Amendment?
You know, surprisingly enough, when I first started my career back in the 70s, I was in law enforcement. And in the process of traveling through the different organizations that I worked for, I was with the state police in Oregon. And then, as my husband tells me, I went to the dark side. I went to the Treasury Department. Believe it or not, I was a BATF agent. And that more or less led me to where I am today because, back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, when I was with ATF, they were rabid. You think they're bad now? Oh, they were very bad then as well. And one of the things I learned from them is a hatred of an inanimate object. And at that same time, I was also dating my husband, who was their firearms instructor and also a gun collector. So I learned a lot from him, and I came to the realization that it was an unrealistic hatred that I was experiencing with the agency I was working with, and that eventually led me to leave them and go on into other law enforcement avenues. And one of the things I also learned in going through all my different, and I went through 3 different academies, both with the state police in Oregon and also with the Treasury Department, I came to find out that the ladies, particularly that were in the law enforcement field, were having great difficulty struggling with firearms. And a lot of it was the difficulty in the communication aspect between the male instructors and the female students. Okay. And I always kept that in the back of my mind as I continued through my life. And when my husband retired from law enforcement, we moved up to where we are right now in the mountains of Arizona, and we got our ranch, and we established shooting ranges on our ranch. I finally decided, you know, it was time to take the bull by the horn and start doing some instruction of my own. So I had, back in 1995, obtained my NRA certificate as a firearms instructor. And I started putting all the pieces and the parts together that I had learned through my law enforcement career. And I created what I have today, which is called Ladies' Day. And I train at my ranch. We have 2 ranges on our ranch, but I train women almost exclusively, and my husband trains the men, and my husband's also a reloading instructor. So we have developed something that was not available up here in the mountains of Arizona at all. So I just kind of stepped right into it, and it has evolved over the many, many years to being basically 12 months a year, even in the snow. I am busy training women in how to use pistols, primarily for their own personal protection. And I've also branched out into rifle instruction as well. And then I have also dabbled in other things as well.
That is amazing. And, you know, you started this back in 1995, you say. The news media has been awash in headlines over the last few years of the growing number of women who are becoming gun owners. But tell me what it was like back in the mid-'90s. I mean, have you seen a sea change or a renaissance when it comes to women who are gun owners and who are exercising their rights?
Oh, absolutely, and statistics prove that out. There's no question about that. I can remember when I first started my classes, I didn't start it as kind of like a business. I kind of had some friends over, and we did some basic instruction. And they became so empowered, they went out and they told other women about it. And before I knew it, I was getting phone calls all the time about, Linda, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn. And so when I actually put the business together in the early part of 2000, more specifically 2002, oh my goodness, they were coming out of the woodwork. And I've had people actually fly in from out of state to take my classes now. And it's not necessarily that they don't have firearms instruction available where they're currently located, but what I have found out that it's being taught by a female. That is the real attraction, because us women speak a certain language, and we have a certain learning curve. And I have run into so many women that have taken classes from men and have come back to take my class, my basic class, all over again, and they've walked away with a totally different idea of guns and how to handle them for your own personal protection. And I just think we just speak a different language, and it has just blossomed since then. But I have seen definitely more women coming into the gun stores here, and they're starting to talk the talk and walk the walk, and they're able to communicate, and they're walking out with their own purchases of handguns. And it's a wonderful thing to watch, because when I first started in law enforcement in the 70s, women just wouldn't walk into gun stores. It's like walking into, onto another planet almost, because there's a certain terminology you have to learn, and in many cases, women have been ignored too long.
What do you think changed, Linda? Do you think there was one thing, or was this just a gradual change, women feeling more empowered and deciding that, you know what, I can do this. I don't need to be afraid to go into that gun store? Or was it people like you who sort of led the way in your generation, making it easier for women to feel comfortable in those environments?
I think it's a combination. Yes, I was one of the first female road troopers in the state, and so I was one of the first that was allowed out of the office to actually get on the road and to be handling what was occurring on the road. And so the ladies that have come after me have obviously benefited from that. But I've also noticed throughout the decades that women have broken down a certain barrier. When I was young and in my teens and my early 20s, the ladies were not being taught a lot of the characteristics required to be self-sufficient, to be more demonstrative, to be more vocal. And I think over the time we have broken down certain barriers that said, ladies, you need to be soft-spoken, you need to sit in the back, you need to not make waves, definitely don't be aggressive. Okay, you can be a little assertive, but don't get to the aggressive point. And you can't speak up, and you cannot use your voice in the process of a deterrence. And too many of us are still, and I'm not speaking of myself specifically, but too many of the ladies still have a hesitation in being demonstrative.
Linda, listen, I really appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you, and thank you for everything that you do for gun owners.
Thank you, the NRA. I'm also an NRA recruiter, so when I can, I get those ladies to come your direction.
Oh, that is fantastic. Well, listen, again, thank you so much for coming on the program. I look forward to seeing you in Louisville next year.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll look you up personally.
Please do. All right, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again before then.
All righty. Thank you very much, Cam, for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you, Linda. And again, congratulations. Linda Gilbertson, the recipient of the 2015 Marion P. Hammer Woman of Distinction Award.